Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Total War Warhammer 2. As always, I'm General Confusion, and I'm still playing the Greenskins. I'm still trying to make Grimgor work. And I've had kind of mixed success. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Basically, I have definitely reinforced my conclusion that it's not easy to protect Grimgor from sniping. If someone comes armed and ready to snipe out your lord, then Grimgor is pretty much doomed unless you have a lot of support units very close to him. You can sometimes use him to bait people into a trap, but a lot of the time he just dies. That said, I'm going to keep using him just because he's fun. So, on my side, I am playing the Greenskins. I've actually brought the same army. This was part of a series of battles that I played with this army in an effort to figure out what it worked well against and what it didn't. I have my two Wolf Rider archers, Mogreb's Mangy Marauders and the Goblin Wolf Rider archers over here. I have a front line of Savage Orc Biggins, Night Goblin Regiments of Renown, and Black Orcs in the center. Two goblins out front to soak fire and be a distraction. The Broken Tusks mob, Grimgor, and a Night Goblin Shaman. The Night Goblin Shaman has the Wand of Jet, Night Shroud, Itchy Nuisance, and Sneaky Stabbin', as well as Sneaky Stealin'. I just took the Wand of Jet just in case it was useful. I don't know how useful it really is. And in the background, I have Rusty Errors, a Orc Error Boy, and one unit of Nasty Skulkers, I'm sorry. On the other side, the Dark Elf player that I'm playing against, going by the name Hello, has taken a pretty unusual Dark Elf army, to be honest. He's got some Black Ark Corsairs, and then a whole bunch of cheap infantry, Bleak Swords and Dread Spears in the front line, one Harganeth Executioner, one Blackguard of Nagarond, and 3 Reaper Bolt Throwers. And he's brought a Dreadlord, the crossbow variant, which has the ranged unit, the buff that, I forget what it's called. What's the buff called? Come here, Dreadlord. Let me see your buff. He has the Volley of Dark Arrows, the Guiding Eye, which gives plus 20% AP missile damage, as well as this skill that gives plus 10 reload skill. And then I thought he had an activatable as well. Oh, and he has the Pearl of Infinite Bleakness, which makes people immune to psychology. He's also brought a Sorceress of Fire, who I think just overcast Sword of Flaming Rune, and took a whole bunch of damage doing so. But so his strategy is to lean heavily on his artillery to do damage to my infantry as I come in, and he's done a significant amount of damage to that Black Orc. However, when I saw him starting to fire, I immediately moved back into the woods to hide my elite infantry. He retargeted onto the Savage Orc Biggins, and now as my infantry are coming out, I'm dropping Night Shroud on this Black Orc that's already damaged to prevent it from being targeted. So these infantry over here are getting torn apart by the Reaper Bolt Throwers, but they're of lesser value. And the Savage Orc Biggins will do a pretty decent job anyway. So long as the Black Orcs get into combat with his cheap infantry over here, my front line will do just fine. But that artillery is pretty significant. In the back lines, my Goblin Wolf Rider archers just kind of being a nuisance, putting damage on his Sorcerers of Fire, but I'm getting a nice charge here into one of the Reaper Bolt Throwers that will shut it down temporarily. You can see they actually do a significant amount of damage against artillery crews on the charge, although they also do take some damage back. Mogreb's Mangy Marauders are being chased off. They're getting some damage done on the Dreadlord, not a whole lot, but more importantly, they're drawing the Dreadlord away. And that's really all I need them to accomplish to be worth it. He dropped a burning skull, a burning head here. Kind of clipped some of his own troops as well a little bit. Well, not really. Thought it had. Got a nice burn off onto Warlord's boys. But my infantry line has now engaged, and I've got the Broken Tusks mob sweeping around the flank. His Reaper Bolt Throwers are all locked down by a single Goblin Wolf Rider. So none of them are shooting, and my archers are now getting into the mix here. How do you like that just to stutter, by the way? Mogreb's Mangy Marauders are being chased off, but that means his Dreadlord is nowhere near the combat, and Grimgor has now gotten to where he can be useful. He's in the front line, he's dropping Wah, he's giving all of my units incredibly high melee attack, and he is going to push right through and get into these Bleak Swords back here and the artillery. Meanwhile, my Broken Tusks mob, with their melee attack of 74 at the moment, are absolutely cleaning house. Over here, my injured unit of Savage Orc Biggins was destroyed because it went up against Harganeth Executioners, but it held them long enough for the archers to do significant damage. I've got these goblins I'll be bringing back in a moment. And the Warlord's boys with their armor sundering will do a pretty decent job. Not a great job, but they kind of muck up these Black Ark Corsairs long enough for the archers to get some good volleys on them. And over here, I have completely collapsed the Dark Elven flank. The battle is definitely turning in my favor at this point. These Black Orc Corsairs are trying to get into the archers, but they're taking a lot of fire doing so, and they are being chased by the nasty Skulkers. These Orc Air Boys are just going to go right into melee. They actually have decent melee attack and weapon strength. They take a lot of damage, but they also inflict a reasonable amount of damage in melee, and the Black Orc Corsairs are not going to stick around long. This Dreadlord has only now returned. It chased Mogreb's Mangy Marauders entirely off the battlefield. For a unit that costs 600, I am perfectly happy with eliminating the ability of the enemy lord to do anything for all that time. The bolt throwers are destroyed, a couple of other units are broken or shattered. I am about to drop Night Shroud on Grimgor. I was a little bit late doing that, but the goal was just to make him invisible as this Dreadlord was picking targets, so that he wouldn't be sniped out. The Dreadlord is going to breathe on my Broken Tusks mob, get some damage done, but it is at this point too little and too late. The only units he still has left are the Hargoneth Executioners and the Blackguard fighting in the front line, and they're not going to last too long. I mean, they both have a lot of infantry stacked up against them. I thought I ordered these Black Orcs to attack, and they're not, but whatever. In any case, the Hargoneth Executioners are going down pretty quickly, and the Blackguard are now getting flank shots from the archers. I just kind of had the Broken Tusks mob lurking around waiting for the Dreadlord. He's going to get some good shots off on him and do a lot of damage, but he can't come down while they're sitting there waiting. He is going to try to jump onto Rusty Errors while the Broken Tusk mob are away, wiping out some infantry, but as I see him coming, I'm bringing the nasty Skulkers back, and I'm also going to start disengaging Grimgor from this blob where he just wiped out the Blackguard by popping Wah. So, for some reason, the Dreadlord dived on the nasty Skulkers. I think at this point, he might have realized the battle was lost. And so the Dreadlord is going to get pinned down by the Smoke Bomb, and then charged by the Broken Tusks mob, as well as these Black Orcs, as well as Grimgor. We're just going to collapse on him and finish the battle off. Aw, ain't he pretty. Gotta love this game. I don't even play on very high graphics settings, and this game is still gorgeous, which is definitely one of the things in its favor. So that's that battle. Good game to my opponent. Hello. Definitely close it sometimes. The heavy artillery strategy is an interesting one, and one that I think can work for the Dark Elves. Going very wide like this, I think was basically a bid to just kind of lock down my front line for long enough for the artillery to do its work. I had enough flanking power to get around that. Probably, if it had been me, I probably would have left one of these Dread Spears just behind the Reaper Bolt Throwers, or spread the Bolt Throwers out, because if they had been able to keep firing the whole time while my infantry was fighting, they could have done very significant damage. As it was, they were kind of shut down and unable to fire at the time they were needed the most. They got some good early damage off on some of these Black Orcs, and especially some of these Savage Orc Biggins, but they just didn't have the staying power because there wasn't enough support for them. The Sorceress of Fire was a decent idea. I might, if it had been me, I might have cut her in exchange for a little bit of cavalry, because a little bit of cavalry to ward off these Goblin Wolf Riders, like even a unit of Dark Riders, could have at least zoned one of these guys out for a long time and let the Reaper Bolt Throwers keep firing. But in any case, that's the battle. Like I said, good game, dude. Love to see you again on ladder, although I don't pay much attention to ladder rankings anymore. Still, it's fun. Quick battles are, I think, the most fun part of Total War Warhammer 2. Just, you know, running into random people, not knowing what you're going to face, and trying to kind of build an army that can deal with everything. I feel like this army is fairly solid. The weakness is, well, Grimgor. That's the weakness. Grimgor is so snipeable. You have to dedicate a lot of this army to protecting him if the enemy has brought the tools necessary to snipe lords. Like, if I was going up against, I don't know, Double Dragon High Elves, boy, I don't know what exactly I would do. Try to skirmish them down and keep my units ready and jump on them one at a time, I guess, but that would be a tough fight. Or Tomb Kings, for that matter. I don't know exactly how this build would deal with Tomb Kings, or how well it would deal with Tomb Kings, rather. I do think the Night Shroud is very valuable in that situation, but we'll see. I haven't actually fought a game against Tomb Kings with this exact build yet. But in any case, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.